We now go into session 3, shared tongues. The question, if there was no first language, how can science speak meaningfully about the early history of human communication? The answer lies in comparison. Historical linguists does not search for absolute beginnings. Instead, it looks for the earliest shared systems that can be reconstructed by comparing later tongues. When tongues that are distant in geography and time shared deep structural similarities, it allows us to do some comparisons and some deductions. They point to a common source, a shared tongue that existed before those communities separated. These reconstructed systems were not languages in the modern sense. They had no writing, no standard rules, and no fixed names. They were frameworks of sound and meaning used by large human groups over long periods of time. Among these systems, one stands out for its age and scope: the Afro-Asiatic tongue system. Scholarly estimates commonly place Proto-Afro-Asiatic in the period 15,000 to 10,000 BCE. This dating does not imply the existence of a single spoken language in a modern sense, but rather a shared communicative system from which later tongues diversified. It is one of the oldest systems that can be reconstructed with confidence. Its geography range is striking. Afro-Asiatic includes several major branches, among them Semitic, Egyptian, Cushitic, Berber, and Chadic. These branches today span North Africa, the Horn of Africa, the Levant, Arabia, and parts of the Sahel. Despite their diversity, they share deep structural features that point to a common ancestral tongue. Such breadth points to long-term human movement and sustained interaction. Despite significant surface variations among its branches, Afro-Asiatic tongues display several recurring features, like features of using consonantal roots, meaning carried primarily by consonant patterns. Also, another feature, internal derivation. Vowel and pattern changes modify meaning. Grammatical gender. Masculine and feminine distinctions are apparent on these branches. Stable pronouns. Deep similarity across the branches. Core semantic fields, They talk about body, kinship, water, authority, and speech. These shared characteristics suggest that the Afro-Asiatic represents not a loose grouping of unrelated languages, but a coherent tongue system that preserved conceptual and functional continuity over long periods of time. These similarities are not too systematic to be explained by accident alone. They indicate gradual diversification from a common tongue, not sudden linguistic creation. What we see here is a living example of how human communication evolved. Unity at the level of structure, diversity at the level of expression. Within the broad Afro-Asiatic system, one branch developed with unusual level of structural continuity. This branch is known as the Semitic tongue. Pro-Semitic is generally dated around 6000 to 5000 BCE. Its importance does not lie in being older than others, but in how clearly it preserves the deep structure of early human communication. When scholars speak of a shared Semitic tongue, they are not referring to a single written language. They are pointing to a period of relative stability in a common tongue system used by neighboring communities over time. This stability allowed key features to remain visible. Semitic tongues preserve several features inherited from Afro-Asiatic, often with greater clarity than other branches. Such features are root-based semantics, meaning organized around roots, patterned derivation, vowel and template changes generate related meanings, grammatical gender, masculine and feminine distinction across categories, stable pronouns, and conceptual economy, where limited roots generate a wide semantic field. These features enable a high degree of mutual understanding across early Semitic tongues and allow linguistics to reconstruct a coherent Proto-Semitic system with confidence. These features did not emerge suddenly. They are the continuation of older patterns inherited from earlier tongue systems. The earliest written records of Semitic languages appeared in the 3rd millennium BCE. But writing did not create the tongue. It simply froze a moment in a much longer oral history. Behind every written inscription stand generations of speakers who already understood one another without writing. As Semitic speaking communities expanded and settled in different regions, their tongues diversified. Yet, this diversification did not erase their shared core. Roots, patterns and meanings remained recognizable across distance and time. Comparisons using standardized core vocabulary lists, such as Swedish type lists, while methodologically cautious, provide a useful quantitative approximations of shared inheritance within the Semitic family. They share core vocabulary. Between the Hebrew and Phoenicians, around 75 to 80% of shared vocabulary. Between Hebrew and Aramaic, around 60 to 70%. Between Hebrew and the Classical Arabic, around 40 to 60% of shared vocabulary. If we look at other studies by different researchers who studied around 2,000 to 3,000 roots of the pro-Semitic roots. Out of these, the Classical Arabic language preserved more than 2,500 roots. Hebrew preserved around 1,500 to 2,000. Aramaic preserved around 1,300 to 1,800. Akkadian preserved around 1,000 to 1,200. We notice Arabic stands out as the most conservative preserver of Proto-Semitic roots, a point noted repeatedly in comparative Semitic scholarship. Through the Semitic tongue, we can trace how meaning traveled, how expression stabilized, and how communication became recordable without losing its human roots. In the next session, we will turn from linguistic to scripture. Thank you.